In my early 20s, I spent my deployment money on a massive TV, a surround sound system, and a PlayStation. Not because I was reckless, but because I had no idea what I was supposed to do with my money. In my late 20s, I became an accountant and finally understood how money works. And looking back, there are a few things I wish someone would have told me, because if you get these things right in your 20s, you can really set yourself up financially without sacrificing the fun stuff. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the lessons that I wish I could have gone back and told my younger self. So in my early 20s, I joined the army. I learned a lot, had some incredible experiences, and even deployed overseas. And when I got back, I had more money in my bank account than I had ever had before. And like a lot of people in their 20s, I spent it. European holiday, big screen TV, surround sound system, PlayStation 2, which was the latest PlayStation at the time. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't regret traveling. That money could have done something far more powerful for me financially. And what I wish I had have known at this age is the power of compounding. How I could have spent this money a little bit differently, and how much more powerful compounding is while you're in your 20s. And I want to show you how powerful this compounding can be with an example. So this is a compound interest calculator. I'll leave a link to this in the description. And what this is really good is showing you what your investments can turn into, how much they can turn into, way down the line. So let's say that you're able to invest $20 per week. $20 is not much. Most people can afford $20 per week, compounded annually. Now, the long run average return of the Australian stock market is 13% per year. Now, let's say you don't start in your 20s, but you start in your 30s a bit later, and you invest from the age of 30 to close to retirement age to 60. So you invest for 30 years. Have a guess what this investment would turn into after 30 years. The answer is $304,000. Now, have a look at this. This is the really important part. If you started 10 years earlier in your 20s, so you invested for 40 years, you'll be blown away with how much this turns into. And the difference, it turns into $1 million just by investing for an additional 10 years starting in your 20s. Based on these calculations, it would add an extra $700,000 to your final return. That is the magic of compounding, especially when you're young. And the scary part is, most people don't realize this until their 30s and their 40s, when their biggest advantage, time, is no longer on their side. Kind of like me. I'm trying to play catch up now. Don't make the same mistake that I did. The second lesson I wish I knew while I was in my 20s is that income is not the most important factor in building wealth. And you'll be surprised what is. And by the way, the third lesson that I'm going to share with you later is the one that keeps most people stuck financially for their entire lives. So if you're in your 20s and you're a little bit lost with what you want to do with your life, don't stress. Your 20s is the perfect time to experiment with different jobs and experiment with what you want to do. You work a very, very long time. So let's say you don't start your dream job till you're closer to your 30s. That's still 30 years of working. So in your 20s is the best time to experiment and to try different things. Look at me. I experimented with the army before I landed on my job as an accountant. Now, I'm a numbers guy, so believe it or not, I actually do enjoy accounting. But while you're experimenting in your 20s, you can still be good with your money, and you can still do things that will really set yourself up financially. So one thing that I wish I had have known while I was in my 20s, one of the biggest drivers of wealth, it's not your level of income. It's actually your savings rate. Because if you think about it, and I'm sure you know people like this, but if you have a really, really high level of income, but you spend it all, you'll be working in that job until the day you die, because you have no viable alternative to support yourself. But if you have a modest level of income, but you watch your expenses closely, you don't waste money, and more importantly, you save a portion of your income, you'll build wealth much faster than a high income spender, because you can use the cash that you've saved to buy assets that will increase in value, or buy assets that will pay you passive income. And this could be things like your first home, or stocks in the stock market. But more importantly, it gives you a safety net. It gives you a level of freedom and flexibility to choose what you want to do with your time. So while you're in your 20s and experimenting with different jobs, make sure you are still saving money. And the experts recommend anywhere between 10 to 20% of your pay. Try and save that amount. But it's more important that you just save what you can and then start thinking, how can you make that money grow? The third thing I wish someone had told me while I was in my 20s is be careful of lifestyle inflation. And what lifestyle inflation is, every time your pay goes up, your spending goes up with it. You get a raise, you get a nicer car. New job, more expensive apartment. Bigger paycheck, more subscriptions and more eating out. And before you know it, your lifestyle has grown just as fast as your income. And the problem is that this keeps people financially stuck for decades. The people who really build wealth are the ones who not only increase their income, but also increase the gap between their income and their spending. Now, you do also want to enjoy life, but a good rule of thumb that I live by is that each time your pay goes up, if you're using the savings rate method we discussed earlier, that means your savings will go up also, but commit to investing a portion of that pay increase into income producing assets, like stocks in the stock market. I've made other videos on this that explain a step-by-step guide to how to invest in the stock market, which I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you do this, you get this nice circular impact of avoiding lifestyle inflation, increasing your savings rate, and further taking advantage of the magic of compounding. Looking back, I don't regret my 20s. I traveled, had a lot of amazing experiences, and learned a lot in the army. However, financially, I was just guessing. If someone had explained these 3 things to me, start investing early, focus on your savings rate, and avoid lifestyle inflation, I really would have set myself up financially and not have to be playing catch up now in my 30s. The good news is if you're watching this now in your 20s, you still have the most powerful advantage on your side. Time. Send this video to someone who needs to hear it. If you made it to the end, comment the number 20 below so I know who you are. If you want to hear more financial hacks from me, make sure you subscribe to my channel.